Welcome. I'd like to talk today about emotions. I've had a lot of mail about emotions. It seems to be a hot topic and one that I think deserves some attention. Today I'd like to talk about dealing with big emotions, and by that I mean things like anger and jealousy and rage and things that have a real hook in us somehow. And I'd like to suggest we have a look at where those things come from and maybe where they reside in the body, because most of the emotions can be traced to some sort of bodily reference or resonance. In that connection, I'd like to point out that the very word emotion comes from the Latin emovere, which is the same root we get motion from. So there's something that's active about an emotion, and we often think of it as kind of a passive state, but it's not. It's active, and it often lives in our body somewhere. And if we can be calm enough and attentive enough to find out where it comes from or where it lives, we can generally let it go by relaxing or releasing that particular tension. It all happens very quickly, but I'd like to point out the basic process by which this happens. Something occurs, someone insults me, and I find that I get upset. All right, and if I can take a mindful moment and look at that process, I'll see that that lives in my chest for a moment. All right, so I can release that by doing some breathing. And then at that point, I already have taken a step back from the phenomenon. And since I've already taken a step back, I can see that this is entirely something that's going on in my mind. And even though she may have meant to insult me, it doesn't necessarily call for that kind of reaction on my part. And instead of having that kind of reflex where I think something and then that thought triggers a sensation, and that means a tightness, and then I'm caught, instead of having that cascade happen all of a sudden, just stepping back and realizing that this is something that's happening in my mind takes me away from the phenomenon. And if you can do that, if you can just step back from an emotion like that and understand that this is something that starts in the mind and maybe it lives in the body, but it's based on the assumption that you are somehow whole and different. And in fact, if you were perfectly integrated with your environment, there wouldn't be this need for this separativity or this separate feeling. So next time you get triggered, step back, take a breath, see where it lives, see the logical chain that it follows, and then be done with it. And then emotions are kind of like the wind. They come and they go. Watch them.